It's Allison again, and this time I want to talk to you a little bit about green lacewings, who I adore. And green lacewings are generalist predators, so they're the beautiful green lacewings that you see in your garden sometimes midsummer. They are native to North America, and there's a whole number of species. There's also brown lacewings and some of the lacewings that behave a little differently. But the commercially available ones, by far and large, are the green lacewings because they're inexpensive to produce and they are worth their weight in gold. So as a generalist predator, they are really happy going after, especially like a double cheeseburger. The double cheeseburger for them would be aphids, actually also mealybug, and even if they saw some mobile scale, they would go after them as well. They'll do a little number on thrips, and they will bump into a mite, and they'll eat whatever they run into. In fact, they're actually cannibals. So you may not have known this, but they will eat each other. So that's why they're produced in a number of ways. And one, the first way to start is the smallest thing possible, is in the egg format. So these are just fresh. They came in this morning to the airport. We pick them up and inspect everything. And these are green lacewing eggs on cards. Ooh, carry that card. So there's actually 5,000 eggs on this little sheet, and you can see how small they are. They are bright green now, but they're quickly turning gray. In a day or two, depending on temperature, they'll turn from gray to, you'll see their little tiny eyeballs, and they'll be ready to hatch. So these can be applied egg side down in the canopy. In this case, that little hook is a little bit small for this big ficus. I'm going to lay it in the sheet. What happens with ficus benjamina and other varieties, like it's largely fig, is the sheets here, little papery sheets, often have mealybugs in them. Even if these plants were treated with a systemic pesticide, by the time they get into retail and they sit for a month or two, eventually mealybug are going to find their way in. So I love the green lacewings for this kind of control. So these can be torn off and placed at intervals throughout the canopy, maybe every, say, 3 feet, if you have a known infestation. So that would be a great use for these. They're also used a lot in cannabis, for the cannabis aphid. And sometimes even people will be, just going to pop that there, looking for something that they can scatter just directly on the leaves for more of a broadcast. In that case, they might choose to do eggs, but eggs in this rice hull form. So there's 10,000 eggs in here, and this would be a situation where they're embedded in here with a little bit of a food resource. So they have some Hephaestia, who's basically sterilized moth eggs, and they're in there as a food resource. So as the lacewings start to hatch, they'll find an immediate food resource and gobble that up, and by the time they've had their first meal or their second meal, they will have grown 500% their body size. So within 3 to 5 days, these things, they are big, voracious marauders. Now, if they bump into one another, they may chew each other up. So the sister will eat the brother, or vice versa. So it is good that you can get a lot very inexpensively, because there will be some attrition along the way. But the bigger they get, the bigger the prey they eat. So this is a great way to go, especially if you're trying to broadcast over a nursery crop or vegetative plants in a small form, especially if they're not spaced out yet. So this is a great way to get good coverage really quickly. The next step up is if somebody had a problem like up in this canopy and they wanted to do a really direct hit, they might choose to go directly to the lacewing larvae, because really it's the larvae that, not the adults, it's the larvae that are eating the pests. So in this case, these are our buckwheat seed hulls, and there's this gray zone here. Those are actually more of those moth eggs. So there's a food resource in here. So when the lacewing hatch, they basically have something to munch on. So this is a good thing, because they are crawling around in here, and you can just go through and you can put them in a plant like this really easily. Or say if you had cannabis and you wanted to do a treatment where you were hitting a whole bunch of stock plants, or someplace where maybe you were concerned that you had root aphids and you knew there was maybe a problem crawling out of the soil, you could easily come along and do a little pile on the soil surface. So lot of really interesting ways to use this. If you want to talk to us about how would you use these in hydroponics, in a raft system, give us a call, drop us a note. We'll go through those details because there's a lot of fun tricks to this. One other thing I'll show you really quick is you could also get them in an adult format. So I thought this would be really fun to actually get some adults. You can see how beautiful they are. They've been in this little bucket for only 24 hours, and each of these little females, she is so laden with eggs. Each of these little females has approximately 250 to maybe 350 eggs right inside. And so it's amazing. They're starting to dump their eggs right in the container. So they've only been in transit for less than 24 hours. So they arrived this morning, and I was curious because it's fairly cool in here, but if they will actually fly out, I don't think it's really warm enough for them today. So they're so pretty. They're hanging out on this little sponge. They're starting to fly. But the sponge is full of like a sugary water. There we go. And so they're getting the last little sip of sugary water, which keeps them going. And so they've got enough energy. The adults don't feed on bugs at all. They only feed on nectar and sugars. And in nature, there's a wide variety of naturally occurring sugars, not just maltose and dextrose and sucrose and fructose, mannitol, other natural sugars. There's probably, I don't know, I think I was reading a study last night, maybe 15 or 20 different sugars. So we're learning now what is their best food resource, what keeps them going. I'm afraid to put this lid back on, so I'm not going to. I'm going to let them fly. Oh, little girls. So what they're going to do is they're going to fly into the canopy. They're going to seek out, they're going to be able to sense where there may be aphids, for instance, or maybe mealybugs. They're going to go to that zone, and they're going to start dropping their eggs. The eggs will be laid on long silken threads, and those eggs, after 3 to 5 days, on the bottom of the leaf, you might notice them, they'll hatch, and you'll probably won't even see the larvae. The larvae are nocturnal, and they're quite secretive, so they spend their time marauding around in the dark, and you won't often be easily able to see them. But sometimes, once they're established in your grow, you'll get a good look at them as they pupate into their adult form, which they will do. So the more intact the system is, the more food resources they have, the more likely they are to cycle in your grow. So that's really determined by the environment, and if you've left maybe some sugary resources, like some alyssum plants or some other biological food resources that would be akin to flowering plants that would have lots of nectar and pollen. So if you'd like more information on nectar and pollen resources for the adults, that would really help keep you cycling with the life cycle. So let us know if we can help you more with this. And for now, just enjoy.